Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ate My Podcast. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Justin.
This week we're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the episode Halloween. This episode originally aired October 27th, 1997, attracting 5.9 million viewers, which is substantially higher than any previous episode.
Well,
Just a teeny bit, yes.
By about 1 million people.
Because it's a decent episode. And It's Halloween and it makes sense.
It's a great episode.
It is.
So in this episode, Buffy and Angel finally agree to date. But Buffy is delayed by a vampire. As Angel waits at the bronze, Cordelia shows up and starts flirting with him. When Buffy finally arrives, she sees Angel talking to Cordelia and turns to leave. The next day, Principal Snyder forces Buffy and her friends to chaperone small children while they trick-or-treat.
Because, that's a brilliant idea.
Larry, the school bully, threatens Xander while asking him about Buffy, who smashes Larry into a soda machine. Ooh, diet.
Dr. Pepper.
Buffy and Willow speculate about what type of women Angel was attracted to back when he was human. To find out, they decide to sneak into Giles' office with some Scooby-Doo level bullshit and borrow the passed-down Watcher's diary. The gang heads to Ethan's costume shop, where Willow gets a Halloween costume and Xander buys a toy gun to go with his army fatigue outfit. Buffy gets a beautiful pink 18th century gown, one that matches what she has spied from Giles' Witcher's diary on Angel. Spike is reviewing a video of Buffy fighting. Drusilla tells him that someone will make Buffy weak on Halloween night. Meanwhile, Ethan is chanting to a statue of Jonas in the back room of his shop. Later that night, Ethan's spell takes effect and everyone wearing a costume from his store turns into that respective persona. Willow becomes a real ghost, able to walk through walls, Xander, a U.S. soldier, and Buffy, an 18th century noblewoman. With Buffy incapable of fighting the threats around them, Willow is forced to take the lead and rushes them to Buffy's house. Outside, Cordelia screams and Xander goes to save her. Angel shows up and takes Buffy into the kitchen. As Angel tries to kill a vampire that has sneaked in, he reveals his vampire face. Buffy is horrified and runs from the house. Arriving at the library by walking through walls and spooking the shit out of Giles, Willow tells Giles about... It was. Willow tells Giles about Ethan's costumes. They head to the shop where Giles reveals that he knows Ethan. He forces Ethan to tell him how to reverse the spell. Spike is hunting Buffy, who enters an alley and meets Larry, now a pirate. Xander arrives to beat up Larry while Willow shows up to warn them of Spike. The gang tries to barricade themselves into a warehouse, but Spike's gang breaks in. Ethan reveals the secret attending the spell, and Giles smashes the statue, breaking the spell. Buffy recovers just in time to defeat Spike, and he flees. Doesn't get staked because he's important to the story.
Yeah.
Buffy admits to Angel that she was dressing to impress him. He tells her that he hated those people back then. The women were dull and he wanted someone exciting. They kiss. The next day, Giles returns to the store to find a new... Ethan has promised to return soon.
Excuse me.
Alrighty, so Justin, what did you think of this episode?
It was a good episode. There were quite a few moments in this that were really, really good, and it flowed quite well.
There was a bunch of great stuff. Dave?
It was so much fun. Just all the funness.
A lot of shenanigans, a lot of just having Willow just when she was like a ghost. It's like, oh, she's a ghost now.
Yeah.
And her ghost costume itself was just adorable.
It was just kind of the case of she's a ghost, but she falls over and dies, and she's a literal ghost. Yep. It's like, oh, okay.
So we start the episode with Buffy having a fight at the pumpkin patch, where there's a vampire hidden that's like filming her fighting.
And I was kind of like, why are you doing that? But then it made sense later.
Yes, because Spike is doing his research.
A gasp.
Buffy sees Angel with Cordelia at the bronze and turns to walk away immediately.
Yeah, because it never hurts to walk up and be like, oh, hey, Angel. Hey, Cordelia. How are you doing? I'm here on a date with Angel.
No, fuck off.
Sea urchin hair.
Oh, I love Principal Snyder walks over. He just there's some girl walking by and he just grabs her arm. You're volunteering.
You've been voluntold.
So Principal Snyder has one of my favorite lines. He's like, keen cars, throwing eggs, bobbing for apples, one pathetic cry for help after another. He's going to do this a lot, where he's going to list 3 things, where 2 of them will make sense, and the third one is just random.
Right, he goes.
We find out that Halloween is a quiet night for all things that go bump in the night.
Okie doos then.
Yes, it's basically like they have a truce that nobody really does anything on Halloween.
Supposedly? I was kind of like, I don't know, just some sort of magical thing where they don't bother doing much of anything. Because you figure, Halloween, most people charading as monsters. Monsters can kind of walk around in the day and sort of be like, oh, hey person, do you mind coming into this dark alley for a second?
I love how Buffy's like, why is it because they find it too commercial? It's pretty great.
Yes.
Okay, so Larry attacks, well, he doesn't really attack, but he goes over to Xander and he's like, hey, like, are you dating Buffy? And
going through the whole sequence there, and Xander being the Xander he is, and being like, I'm gonna do what a man could do.
My favorite part is Larry's like, do you think you should go out with me? And he's like, well, Laird, that's a tough question, no.
Yeah.
He's like, and then Larry's like, well, what are you gonna do about it? And he's like, something damn manly.
Well,
and then Buffy comes over and saves Xander, slamming Larry into the pop machine, and a free pop comes out and just, ooh, diet.
I think it wasn't free. I think Xander put in a coin anyway and didn't get any pop out of it.
Oh, maybe.
The machine was being uncooperative, but then...
There was probably no Coke or something. I don't really know what he was trying to get.
Yeah, who really knows?
Xander was just hitting buttons.
Yeah.
He was hitting the wrong button.
Did you have some mild concerns of the Diet Dr. Pepper that came out?
I didn't care.
Oh, okay.
We then hear Buffy and Willow talk about going to get the Watcher diaries.
Ah, yes. Sneaking in to go find some info about boys.
So, my favorite part in this whole sequence, where they go to get the Watcher diaries, is at the very beginning, where they have the shot of the library door, and there's that little circular window, and they both stick their head in the window at the same time.
Yes.
Every time that makes me laugh. It's just something so funny about that to me.
Yes, definitely. And then Buffy's distraction tactics.
Miss Calendar said you were a babe.
That's quite a distraction tactic.
It's great. And then Buffy later in the episode says to Xander, I promise next time to let you get pummeled.
Yeah.
So I was like, thank you. Okay, so Cordelia walks over to Oz. Yay, Oz.
Yeah.
In the by his locker, and she's like, well, I forget exactly what she says. It's this like long list of Mr. who thinks he's too good to call or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, he's just going by Devin now.
Yeah.
I just love Oz.
And kind of goes through a whole sequence of excuses to kind of make him worried about her, all those particular things. And Oz is like, so, anything specific I should tell him? It's like, no! Don't, nothing!
I love how Cordelia walks away and he's like, why can't I meet a nice girl like that? And then he turns around and immediately walks into Willow. But she's got her
who's in her
ghost
costume.
costume. Yeah.
It's like, oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, so Xander is in his army uniform and he's giving instructions to the kids he's taken out.
Yes.
And it's great.
So perfect with all of his Halloween plans.
I fully believe that when Xander still goes trick-or-treating and he has like a clipboard and a map of the neighborhood and he knows exactly what houses to hit at what time.
Exactly. A familiar moment kind of comes up with them actually out on Halloween taking the kids trick-or-treating, and Buffy is with the kids, and she stops them after the house and sort of says, so what did you guys get? And they got toothbrushes. It's like,
she must be stopped.
She must be stopped. Let's go try another house.
Yeah. Everyone ends up becoming their costumes. So Xander turns into a soldier, Willow technically dies and becomes a ghost,
yeah,
and Buffy becomes an 18th century noblewoman.
Yeah. But it was interesting with the couple particular costumes with the kids of their masks literally kind of taking over and becoming the demons, where, they actually had the money to actually get more of a costume and not have to steal from Goosebumps like last season.
Well, they do have more money this time.
Yeah, so true.
I love how they're like, everybody's looking at the camera, and there's Willow and Xander and Buffy, and they're like, Buffy, what do we do? And then Buffy just faints.
It's like, just perfect.
Okay, so Buffy is like spooked, and she's like, a demon! And Willow's like, that's no demon, it's a car.
That's a car.
What does it want?
Oh boy.
Willow has a great line where she's like, couldn't have dressed up like Xena, huh?
I'm pretty sure that would have caused more problems, maybe.
No, I think probably less.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I mean,
Because Buffy would have at least still been able to kick some ass.
Yeah, she might have hurt a few children.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
It would cause more problems that way. I mean,
An equal amount of problems.
Yeah.
I mean, Xander...
Spike wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Yeah, so true.
Xander probably almost killed like a few kids with,
I think he probably killed a few people. Because he was just firing off rounds willy-nilly on a few points there.
Yeah, in a couple of cases. I think Willow kind of stopped that, though, with first running into him. Well, phasing through him.
Yeah.
But she sort of expresses, no, those are civilians, don't kill them.
Pretty sure he was firing blanks, though.
I love how they turn Buffy on her head. They take Buffy, who is normally a very strong, powerful character, and make her just incredibly weak.
Yes.
And they make, Xander and Willow have to save the day.
Yes.
And I kind of love that. So Willow goes to get Giles.
So, first thing with that, when she leaves to go see Giles, they're in Buffy's house with Xander, Buffy, and Cordelia.
Yeah.
I can't remember Cordelia's comment exactly, but Willow's just walking behind, phases through the wall.
Yeah.
It matches perfectly with that.
And then Willow phases through the wall, and Giles gets spooked.
Yeah.
And he sends his cards everywhere.
I'm not sure why her first, or why she would think to walk through the wall first instead of
quicker.
a door. I guess it's a shortcut. But...
Well, true, but after you sort of understand that you can phase through stuff after the whole Xander walking through her incident...
I guess you kind of get used to the fact that, I can do this now.
Forget
this. Is my life.
Forget doors.
So the house gets attacked, and Buffy and Angel go one way, and Xander and Cordelia go the other. And Buffy's like, no, but I like the man with the musket.
Do you have a musket?
Angel then reveals his vamp face, and it spooks Buffy, and she goes running off.
Yeah.
And then we get a scene with Giles and Ethan.
Yes.
Where Ethan refers to Giles as Ripper.
Yes.
You have any idea what that might be about?
I think aside from Jack the Ripper, which I'm doubting is going to be the case, not really sure, but there are additional things about Giles that we don't know about aside from the fact that he was a Watcher, despite knowing a bit from one episode and still kind of in the dark about the exact details of what his case is.
Yeah, Giles has an interesting past.
Yeah.
So Giles ends up breaking the statue just in time. Buffy beats the shit out of Spike, but doesn't stake him because he's important to the season plot.
Yeah.
And then Willow she gets up from where she technically died,
Yes.
takes off her ghost costume,
And throws it
away, and then walks down the street, and Oz, yet again, who is that girl?
Who is that girl?
Did you notice anything about Oz's van?
It was Zebra Stripe, wasn't it?
Well, that's not actually what I meant, but yes.
Okay.
No.
Well, it's also the same sort of design as an actual Scooby van.
Well, yes, but that's actually not what I meant either.
Oh, okay.
Did you notice where he was sitting?
Oh,
he was in the passenger seat. Well, passenger seat, driver seat within Europe and that sort of thing.
Yes. They accidentally bought a van that was European, so it had the driver's side on the other side. It ended up working out better, but
Righto.
Just a little piece of trivia there.
Interesting. I never would have noticed that, really.
Really? You wouldn't notice somebody driving a vehicle on the passenger side and be like, what?
Although, I mean, sure, if it was like a Phoenix Wright game, I would have to notice because it would be integral to the investigation and trial.
Yeah.
In that one case. But I don't really care to notice these details too much.
Alrighty. So, what did you think of this episode, Justin?
It was really decent. It was a silly little episode that also wasn't filler, too. It incorporated some plot details into the episode while just kind of being kind of a lighthearted-esque, well, not fully lighthearted. I mean, there's still kids turning into monsters, but that's kind of silly anyway.
Yeah. It's not terribly serious, but we still get Spike.
Yeah.
And anytime Spike is on screen, it's good.
Great. Yes, indeed.
So, Dave, what did you think?
This episode was just an absolute blast. It had the points of importance within the episode, but it just has fun with the concept, where there's a new person in town that does something that doesn't seem like it would be bad, but when you actually sort of see it happen, the bad consequences, and it brings up a problem for everyone else. Seeing the reversals of Xander and Buffy was definitely interesting, but best of all the switches was definitely Willow, with just the seriousness of her actually kind of dying and becoming a ghost with her other outfit, instead of just kind of making her mildly translucent within the show and giving her those specific abilities.
Yeah. So, let's talk about some music.
Yes.
So, there are 2 songs in this episode. One is by a band, and I'm probably going to butcher this. It's Epperly, and the song is Shy, and that plays at the Bronze at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
And the other band is Treble Charger, the song How She Died, and that plays when Oz spots Willow at the end of the episode.
Everything kind of matches decently with the titles, just relating to certain things within the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So for international titles, a lot of them just end up being Halloween, but there are 2 that are a little more interesting.
Which would be?
So German translates to Night of Transformation.
Okay.
And Brazilian Portuguese translates to Trick or Treat.
Okay. That works decent.
Alrighty, so do you guys have a score for this episode?
This episode, I'd like to give a 10 out of 10. Overall, it's very enjoyable. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it does incorporate a lot of things into it, and overall it's just enjoyable and a blast to watch.
It is a lot of fun.
Yes.
Dave?
Now, I definitely have to agree. I wouldn't put it as super high. Sure, there are important bits, but I think it's a bit more fun than actually kind of story relevant with most of the stuff. So I think mine kind of drops down a bit more to a 9.
I'd probably be at about an 8.5. This is one of the better episodes of Season 2, but the show is going to get better.
Meh.
I'm basically comparing it to the last episode where it's not
fair.
terribly great, so I
can't argue with that.
It was nice to end up going, oh, thank God, a better episode.
Yes. So the next episode we'll be covering is called Lie to Me. In this episode, Buffy is lured into a trap by a group of vampire wannabes, including her friend Ford, who hope that Spike will turn them into vampires in exchange for giving him the Slayer. Dun, dun, dun. So, I think that's going to be it for this episode, unless either of you have something to add.
I'm trying my best not to say the thing that's on my mind.
Okay.
Alrighty, that's going to be it for this week. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Justin.